back into good deed doing. Does that make sense? So we're not like a regular company that we're, selling shoes and then we're getting money, we're all getting rich. We're using it to do more good works. So that's what Nubs is all about. Nubs stands for No Unwanted Birds. And we named it that because we named the organization after the parakeet called Nubs, who you may have seen on our website and our Facebook page. Nubs is a handicapped parakeet that was rescued about a little over a year ago from the home of a hoarder. So you may have seen these kind of TV shows on TV where these people are collecting all kinds of stuff in this house. And this particular person collected birds. And so we had over 500 birds in the house. And I think you guys are old enough that I can share that not all those birds were alive. But we did get 368 birds out, including Nubs. And so that became a big rescue. It ended up all over the news. And Nubs himself made news, the picture of Nubs, because out of all of those wild birds, he was completely friendly. And he was completely tame with people. And he inspired me, and he inspired a lot of other people that, wow, wait a minute, you can go through something really horrible. And you can not only kind of survive and be okay, but you could thrive and start a whole new life for yourself. And I thought that was a really, really neat idea. And so I looked around my house and I looked at the other animals that I live with and the other animals that my friends had, and I went, you know what, you guys, we should join together and we should try to spread this kind of message to kids. Almost all the animals that you see up here today have pretty difficult stories in their background. They're kind of hard to hear. They're difficult. But that's not the important part. The important part is that they can come out here today and meet all of you and have a great time, and they can help spread a message. So that's what we do. And we do that through all volunteers called the Nubs Squad. So one of the main important things that we do is we try to spread this message of resiliency. Do you guys know what that word means? Who could tell me what they would guess that word means? Resiliency.
Resilience.
Think about it.
Resilience. That was in our PowerPoint today.
It means I know this. It means even though something bad happens, you keep on going or something.
That's exactly what it means. When something bad happens, you keep on going. 1 year ago today was the bombing of the Boston Marathon. Did you guys see that on TV last year? Right? Really horrible thing. And a very sad thing. Today on the news, I heard somebody saying, you know what, we here in Boston, something may have happened terrible during our race, but we own the finish line. We own the finish line. What does that mean? What do you think that means? We own the finish line. You still keep on going, right? You can't control what happens in this world on a day-to-day basis, but you can own in your mind how that's going to end up, right? It's all about your own perspective and having control of your own thoughts. Make sense? So that's what we do when we go out with kids, is we'll share with them the story of Nubs. A lot of times we read it on the book, and I won't read it to you guys because it's for littler kids than you. You go, really? But that's what we're doing here today. And what we try to do is we try to use humor, and animals are funny, animals are cool, and so that makes them a good vehicle for this. What else do you think we would use birds to teach kids about how to bounce back from something bad that happens to them? It's this or word problems. So you guys make the call. That kind of
Maybe because kids think birds are more interesting and people want to know about.
Exactly. It's not necessarily an animal you see every day, right? So you walk in and have a dog. Dogs are cool, whatever. But a lot of people have dogs. Birds are a little less typical, and so it's kind of like, oh wow, what's that? So you kind of get their attention. The other thing we do to try to lure kids into paying attention and to get the idea that maybe they could have a story like Nubs. Maybe they could go through something like Nubs and they could be okay too, is we use a lot of props. So you can see in here, we have Remy and Hood. Come here, Remy. Say hi. This is Remy. And you can see with Remy, he's so tiny. He's so tiny. You get to hold him later. We use a lot of props with Remy and Hood. And the reason we use props is because they make you think of Remy sort of like he's a person too, right? And so that way, without telling a kid, if anything bad happens to you, you're going to be okay. You know, instead you can say, you know, Remy had this happen to him, right? But now look at him. And they go, Remy's in a tent. He's got a friend with a tent. You know, it kind of humanizes him, right? And it makes you think about, okay, maybe that's kind of like me too, right? And so that's the kind of the stuff that we try to do. We work with a lot of foster kids. We work with kids who don't necessarily have moms and dads, and they don't necessarily live in their home. But that doesn't mean that a lot of kids couldn't really benefit from hearing these types of stories, right? Like, what other hard things do kids go through that you gotta bounce back from? What kind of things? Like a family member, a divorce, being bullied, feeling like you're not as smart as everybody else, just feeling kind of. Being in middle school is so hard, right? It's really hard. There's all these pressures of friends and what do I look like and am I wearing the right stuff? And then I got to deal with grades, and school's a lot harder now than it was when I was a kid, you know, because I have a son your age and I've seen his math homework. It's tough, right? And you got the science fair. What are you going to do about the science fair, you know? So it's always great, no matter what you're going through, whether it's a big problem or just day-to-day stuff, that, you know what, you're going to be fine. You got this. So that's what we try to do. So any questions about our program before